die. 13 more, that'll get more. Cygnar. That's it. Everybody.
Hey guys, it's Steve here, got another bat rep for you. This is reports from a game that I had today, so I thought it'd be nice, rather than on the last one where I waited a couple of weeks before I did the report, I thought it'd be nice to do this one where it's still fresh in my head and have a little bit of a more detailed approach, although I'll still try and keep it down to less than 15 minutes. We'll see how that goes. So I had a nice game today against Trolls once again, and I took the same list as I took last time. It was my Nemo3 list. So that's Nemo3 with Finch, as usual, with the Squire and the Hurricane. There's the new Hurricane model sitting on the table. And got Dynamo there and Centurion in the battle group. Then I've also got Journeyman Warcaster and a Firefly. And then Strangeways and Jakes with the Stormclad on there. I explained a little bit about my list in the last bat rep, so I won't go over that again. And that's all in the heavy metal theme. And the list I was up against was Borka for the Trolls. Borka Keg Slayer, I think that's Borka 1. And he's got the Keg Carrier which he comes with. And then he's got in this battle group, he's got Rock or Roke, however you want to pronounce him, and a Dire Troll Mauler and a Troll Axer. He's also got a Fell Caller Hero, Trollkin Champion Hero, the Stone Scribe Chronicler, a unit of Whelps, Trollkin Champions with a Scaldy Bonehammer attached, a unit of Trollkin Warders, and the Creelstone Bearer and the Stone Scribes and the Stone Scribe Elder. And I have to say that that's a particularly nicely painted army that was up against this time, so no matter what happened in the game, it was a really fun game to play against a nicely fully painted army. It looks really good. So here's the table. I got second turn, so my opponent decided that he wanted to go first. So I got my 12-inch deployment again, which is really nice. We're playing the pit, and I decided to take this side because it had a hill and a forest in a nice position and a wall, so lots of easy places for me to park Nemo if I needed to. I decided that it probably wasn't that important for me to play Scenario, because I could block him out from Scenario quite easily with my Centurion, and I could park Nemo quite safely up behind the forest that's in front of him there. So I wasn't too worried about Scenario. So yeah, other than that, I've just got pretty central deployment, and what I'm up against is a list that I can hopefully shoot down before they get to me. I do not want to get into close combat with this list, into melee with these trolls, so I think it would actually be possible for if he's got an alpha strike off for his whole army, to completely annihilate my army in one turn, I believe, because of the Mauler and Roke or Rock. So the question really was if he could get to me before I shot him to pieces. So here's his first move, and yeah, really just running forward, getting his defensive spells up, and that was it really. Some guys need to be in base to base to get defense bonuses. He's got Stumbling Drunk up on Keg Slayer and on Rock, and that turned out to be quite an important spell. So what Stumbling Drunk basically does is if you get hit, if the character with Stumbling Drunk gets hit by a melee or ranged attack, then he just scatters D3 inches in a random direction without getting any free strikes. So it means that if you're lucky, then he could step away from whoever's attacking him, maybe step out of range of a gun or a sword. And in addition to that, he also, throughout most of the game, upkept a spell, which the name escapes me at the moment, but what it does is it prevents any shooting from anything that's not a magic weapon. So here's my first round, and yeah, he was nice enough to warn me beforehand that because of the various spells and his feet, then he would be able to charge 14 inches to get to my guys if necessary. So as you can see, I just paid special attention of getting the Centurion up into the zone, make sure that was contested. Maybe I should have realised that I could also contest my flag at the same time, so that probably would have been a better idea to straight away just to put that Centurion in a position where he's contesting the zone and the flag. Got Arcane Shield up on the Centurion, and I kept that up for most of the game as well. Then the Dynamo and the Hurricane are just getting in position, giving enough space for the Firefly to run through, ready for a big shooty round on the next turn. The Stormwall just got a couple of his cannon shots off into the trolls in the centre there. Didn't do much damage, I don't think, but he did try to take a couple of shots there. And just moved my Stormclad on Jake's just around to the side a little bit, just staying out that 14-inch range of rock, just on the off chance that he might come into my charge range on the next turn. So yeah, really just getting set up ready to do a big shooty turn on the next turn. So yeah, my opponent, because he couldn't get to me with his charge ranges, and the Centurion playing his part there, making sure that no one can charge him, then my opponent basically just had to run up one of his units of trolls. I don't know which one it is, maybe the champions, up to engage him, and didn't get a charge off. Just being very aggressive and getting as far forward as possible, whilst not giving too much away. There's very high defense on those Trollkin champions, which makes them a little bit more difficult to remove, but if I could get some shots off on them, then they pretty much die to my high-powered shots. So yeah, after this turn, my opponent hadn't got any kills, and he set himself up to receive a pretty hefty alpha strike. But what I noticed is over on the right-hand side that Borka is... he's camping his flag, but he's also well within shooting range of my Stormwall, potentially of Nemo as well, and he's actually within charge range of the Stormclad if Rock wasn't standing in the way. So the cogs started turning in my head, and I tried to decide what to do, whether I should just sort of sit, button down and buckle in and go for heavy attrition, just try and kill as many trolls as I possibly could, and just try and get in a good position to avoid him scoring any more points. Although him camping his flag is a bit of a problem that kind of puts me on a countdown timer for only about 2 rounds before I have to get up there and contest that to stop him from just cleaning up and winning the game. Or I could go for the assassination. And it took me about 10 minutes to decide what to do, and eventually I decided that it might be a good idea to go for the assassination. So that depended on me putting magical weapons on the Hurricane, and I think I might have called it a Stormwall earlier, but it's a Hurricane. Putting the magical weapons on the Hurricane, also being able to shoot Rock to try and get his stumbling drunk, special rule to make him stand out of the way of Borka, which would then free him up to be attacked by the Stormclad. And yeah, so I basically, that's what I tried to do, is try to go for the assassination, and failed horribly. So in the end, the Centurion and Dynamo did a fairly decent job of getting his guys off the flag on my side. Strange Ways did pass on magical weapons onto the Hurricane. I think it was the Hurricane that shot Rock, and he did get out of the way, and then I went on to shoot Borka with the Hurricane, and of course because I used one of his storm emitter guns, it slammed Borka out of range of everything else. So that slam gun is great, but it's not so great when you nerf your own assassination attempt by slamming your target out of range of everything. So that was a bit of a problem. My Firefly is up there just trying to increase any damage that anyone gets from any... This was obviously my feet turn to get all that damage high up and stuff like that. I did end up putting about 11 damage on Borka in the end, but he just passed that off onto one of his beasts. So in the end, it was entirely the wrong decision to try and go for that assassination. Stumbling Drunk is great. The anti-magical weapons... the only magical weapons spell, the name of which I can't remember, is really good. And so it makes Borka very difficult to assassinate, actually, with ranged attacks. And I didn't really feel like I had enough fast-moving stuff that I could commit to do a melee assassination. So rather than wiping out most of his army with all my attacks and shots on the left, I actually just ended up failing to do really anything at all. So it put me in a pretty difficult position. So my opponent then took the opportunity to score some more points. So obviously he's still scoring up on that flag, no problem at all. He put Borka in an even more defensive position, which was all fine. He brought down some champions. I think I've skipped a turn here, actually. I think maybe I forgot to take a photo, but he brought some champions down and scored on my flag as well. So that was rather stupid of me not to have my Centurion contesting that flag. And he couldn't score in the zone, but that already put him up to 2 points. And if I couldn't get anything up to contest on my turn, which there's a slide you can see now, and you can see that I didn't get anything up to contest there, then I allowed him to get up to 3 points. So I killed off a lot of the champions and moved the Centurion and Dynamo in to contest my flag to stop him scoring there. But at this point I was already down to something like 4 minutes left on my clock, because I spent so much time over that failed assassination. So I really mismanaged my time in this game. And at that point I just called the game. I said, I conceded because he could easily just await me, let me clock myself, because he was already 3 points up. It looks like he was going to score a point on his turn, and then all I got really is my only chance is to try and contest. So he had something like 20 minutes left on his clock, so anything that I sent in to contest he could easily then demolish and get his extra point and win the game. So at that point I didn't see there was much point continuing. It was already quite late, and I didn't have the clock time for it anyway. So kind of quite a big mistake. We had a good chat about it afterwards, and so I had my plan is to get a couple of good rounds of shooting at him before he got to me, and as soon as that assassination popped up, I thought I could do it, and it just didn't work out. So it's kind of annoying, and it made me think about assassination really, and it made me realise how many good rolls that whole assassination attempt depended on anyway. And actually when you stack up, for example, say 3 9 out of 10 90% chance rolls, then you're already down to 75% chance of succeeding. If you do a 90% chance followed by another 90% chance followed by another 90% chance, then that stacks up, and actually your chances of succeeding go down pretty rapidly. And I think that assassination I was trying to do on this game relied on several rolls that were a lot less than 90%. So my actual chances of succeeding, even if I hadn't made any mistakes, were probably actually pretty low. And that's combined with the fact that, once again, with hordes, you have to kill all of the beasts before you kill off the warcaster or warlock, because they can just transfer. If they've got any fury left, they just transfer that damage away, which is what he did. It was 11 damage, which had just disappeared off into one of the other war beasts. So I'm trying to learn these lessons, but I do keep making the same mistakes. These low chance assassinations rather than just going for the hard slog is always a mistake. So if you've got a certain chance of getting good attrition, then it's always worth putting off the assassination, unless the assassination is absolutely certain. So for example, strike at 2 with a full stack and a good roll on overload, for example, is a much more certain thing than sort of juggling around slams and stumbling drunk and all that kind of stuff. So So hopefully I've learned a bit of a lesson, and the next bat rep should be pretty soon, because we got a tournament coming up on Saturday, which I'll be playing in, and I imagine losing. We'll see how that goes. My aim is to just win one game on that day out of 4. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, so the next bat rep should be coming up pretty soon. All right, guys, I think I've gone on for long enough, so I'll see you on the next one.